Back with the Real Estate Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty, Boise. Chris, is there a particular area, and I'm going to say besides Eagle, maybe even besides Meridian, out there where you're getting phone calls of people saying, hey, I'm curious about Middleton. I'm curious about Napa. I know people are curious, but I hate to say besides the usual suspects, but is there some other spots out there that somebody say, tell me more about this area, or is it the North End, Meridian, and Eagle?
Yeah, it is, the mainframe, and I think the biggest thing was Canyon County got hurt so bad, and now we're seeing, in Ada County got hurt so bad, 2 years ago, we've seen a lot of great recovery or market correction, but for the most part, you're starting to see some recovery out in Canyon County. But a lot of those people, they saw that they could afford to move into Ada County and Meridian and Boise and be closer in.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we're starting to see some recovery out there in Kuna and Napa and Caldwell, so it's always a good sign. We're seeing a lot of new construction out there for sure.
Well, I know you talked a little bit about lot prices, and we haven't got into that. But Jerry's actually your associate Jerry Kelly's looking for a piece of quote property for me, and I told her, I said, you're from Central Idaho. I'm looking for that 1.5 acres in that neighborhood. And she said, I might not be able to find it where you live, but I'm looking in the Kuna area. So I think that's another piece that your team provides, is to say, well, what exactly are you looking for? And here's some areas that we have available, or at least to hunt down for us.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. We just had a meeting this morning early with a client of ours. They're looking for a lot. There's not a whole lot out there in Ada County. I mean, we got your Corey Bartons of the world and a lot of other investors chewed up a lot of land over the last 6 to 8 months. But, it is what it is. But, for the most part, there are a lot of pockets out there where, you'll walk into a subdivision, you think it's owned by the developer, but there might be 1 or 2 lots in there that are privately owned and they want to sell them.
Yeah. All right. Curt Moody, who we talked about, who is a loan officer with Academy Mortgage, and I've got to spend some time with him today. How did you two start working together?
Curt and I got together through just mutual friends and colleagues, and it was actually the person who introduced me to him was Van Carlson over at Concierge Legacy. I met him at an event we were doing that Van, Aaron, and myself were doing together for their company Concierge Legacy, and they said, Curt's a really good guy, and we've done some deals together, and just that's the whole goal, and Curt can discuss it too. I think Curt feels the same way. He's got the same attitude about real estate and lending, because I think the overall historical image of a realtor or the image of a lender is that we don't really do much, and the fact of the matter is there's a small percentage of us that do a ton, and that's the thing. We treat it like a business, we run it like a business, and we want the process to go as smooth as possible.
So share your testimonial real quick for those that missed it in the first segment from Pioneer Title about Curt and how good he is.
Yeah, well, just as I said, April Ashby, she's a closer over there, and she says, Curt, and the way that Curt handles himself over at Academy Mortgage is that he's a proactive guy. And that's kind of how I like to look at our group, is that we're proactive. We don't wait for you to call us. When Curt needs stuff, Curt's going to talk about it. But, when you go to get a loan now, it's not like before. I mean, it's very specific. There are 2 years tax returns. They're going to need bank statements, et cetera. But if Curt doesn't get those items from the buyer, there's really nothing he can do for you. But the one thing that's good about Curt, and this is what April was given, that from Pioneer Title was given, the props to him was he was proactive, calling over and over and over again, saying there's nothing I can do for you if you don't do this for me, which is an awesome thing in my world.
Yeah. Now, Curt, in terms of Academy Mortgage, I think you guys have over 100 branches. You're nearly 30 states, but you're actually headquartered just down the road in Salt Lake City.
That's right. Been in business for a long time and based out of Sandy, Utah, just outside of Salt Lake.
Now, 3 decades or so? I mean, you guys have been doing this for a long time. Tell our listeners, I guess, about the core principle of Academy Mortgage and kind of before we get to you as an individual, kind of the philosophy from headquarters.
Well, Academy Mortgage has got that, focus on, consumer mortgages. That is all we do. And so we're good at it. We work with real estate partners as well as consumers, of course. But we try to, focus on that purchase business and do a job that's excellent for the customer and, get things done on time or ahead of time. So everybody in the transaction is happy.
Now, I know they usually have some sort of a ranking system. I know you're an independent mortgage company as a lender, Are you guys a top 10, top 20? Where are you at?
Well, as an independent lender, Academy Mortgages has been recognized as the #1 purchase lender in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we've got a great footprint. Been doing this, like we said, for quite some time. And so...
Yeah, you kind of got the hang of this. Now, Curt, I guess we get into the meat and potatoes because I told you before we visited, I said, I know interest rates are low. It doesn't really matter where I go, they're going to be low. But I want somebody that returns my phone call and works through the process. Tell our listeners how you work with them.
Well, one of the things about Academy Mortgage, all we do is mortgages. So when you come in, I'm not going to try to sell you, an auto loan, a credit card, a bank account, and all
Which
that.
is real important because I'm focused on my home right now. Don't worry about the bus.
That's right. Yeah. And what I can cross sell you. So what we're doing, we're focused on what you're focused on, which is getting that home. And so we only have professionals at Academy. We're not going to just hire anybody to be a loan officer. Everybody has experience. Everybody has the knowledge and the know-how to get this job done. So when you come to us, as Chris said, we're going to make sure we get everything up front so that, we can get this thing in line, moving forward, and we're not waiting and calling you back several times.
The other thing too, Curt, I want to touch a little bit on too. I was kind of looking down at the paper here, but we talk about loan programs and what people don't understand about the difference between, a company like Academy Mortgage Corporation and a B of A or Wells Fargo, KeyBank, US Bank, those big banks that are so, in my mind, they're just very impersonal. They're very, they're not difficult to work with. It's just more slow motion. There's no urgency at all. And we talk about the programs as well. So they offer something, but when you work with someone, like Academy Mortgage and yourself, the programs, there's just a variety of programs available, right?
Well, and that's one of the great things about Academy. I mean, I can do FHA, VA, Idaho housing, all the conforming Fannie and Freddie. I mean, any of that stuff, we can do it. And one of the great things about Academy is that file comes in and we handle it right there at the branch. We don't have to send it out, for an underwriting or send it across the country for processing. Right. It's handled right here.
Yeah, I guess the point Curt's trying to make here, Dave, is that when you talk to these larger institutions, you might have underwriting in Seattle. You might have underwriting in Manhattan as far as and they don't understand the area. They don't understand what's going on. And when you talk about being even like down in Sandy, Utah, it's pretty darn close, or you talk about what you can do. And just to kind of explain how important in-house underwriting, because I don't think people understand what they do. And when you have to talk about in-house, walking across the hallway or whatever, and just kind of touch base on that a little bit.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why, I'm at Academy is, here in the Valley, we have 3 offices. I'm at my office. We have 5 underwriters and 3 closers. So if there's an issue with, or a question on a file, I don't have to, send an email or call and leave a message. I just walk down the hall, grab an available underwriter. Let's walk through this scenario. If I have an issue on a closing document and, we need to get that taken care of, I just walk down the hall. We figure out a solution and we get that taken care of.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize, Dave, how important that is when you talk about it. I know you've done numerous loans, throughout your life, but when you talk about that, before they were easy. Before it was just, loan after loan after loan, no problem. Everyone had a stack of loan docs on their desk and all of them are approved. But now that things are getting tight, in-house underwriting like Curt's talking about is so important because of the fact that Curt can go, okay, where are we at on this file? You can look over at it, Annette, and say, Annette, where are we at on the Johnson file? And she can say, we don't have this. We don't have this. There's no way we can close tomorrow or next Monday if we don't get these things today. We got to be able to have them in time to review the docs. And that's kind of what I think Curt's talking about is it's such a powerful tool to have that stuff in-house and be able to go over and look someone face-to-face and they go, you know what, we can, yes, we can. That way Curt can communicate with, the sellers want to know, the buyers want to know, the agents want to know, the closers want to know over Pioneer Title what's going on. And so it's just such an important thing. And, another thing I wanted to touch on too, Curt, is what Dave said about, what your company does, but talk about rates a little bit because I think the anomaly that rates are going to stay low forever and ever is what people think. And I know that the federal government came out and said, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. We're going to keep the rates low for 2 more years. So, and I think it really hurt us in June and July this year with buyers because it kind of put the brakes on them. And they said, why should I be in any hurry to buy if rates are going to stay at, whatever, under 4%? What's the urgency? So kind of discuss rates a little bit too, well, so people can kind of really understand truly what the effect is.
Well, and we've been through this this 5 years of some difficult times, and you're like, right now, this is the time. I mean, as you've been talking, up 16% in values. Rates are historically low. I mean, they've literally never been this low.
Right.
And so are they going to stay here forever? Likely not. So this is the time to take advantage of this rate environment. The government's in there buying mortgage-backed securities, which is creating this demand, but it's not a demand that's going to be there forever.
Sure.
So eventually, when they stop doing that because there's no longer need, what are rates going to do in response to that? So,
well, I tell people too. You start talking about rates, and we discuss this, and I don't like to discuss rates, per se as of today, on Saturday, where they're at, because they change so much, and they do change. And 15-year mortgage, 20-year mortgage, not even though they're not very popular anymore, but to a 30-year fixed P&I, you start talking about these things, and I always tell people get in and get pre-qualified, and touch base a little bit on that for the fact that, hey, you know what? If you're thinking about it, why don't you go find out? Reach out to Curt. It doesn't cost you anything. Reach out to him and say, you know what? Hey, I want to see what can I truly afford, or where do I need to get, if I want to move to let's say, Settlers Bridge and Meridian and do a $250,000 house in, a year from now, where do me and my wife or my family or my income, or what do I need to look like, my credit score, and kind of touch base on that as well as what people, when they reach out to you and say, Curt, I want to, tell me what I can afford. Tell them what they need to bring into you.
Right. Well, let me start. People are looking around thinking, banks aren't lending,
Sure.
Credit is tight. There's no loan programs out there. The system is working. There are lots of programs. There's lots of ways to get people financed in every different situation, whether they're that first-time home buyer or they're a move-up buyer or, move down buyer that
Sure.
we were talking about earlier. So the pre-qualification, it's not that bad. Trust me. I'm a friendly guy. Your call, I'm not going to charge you to pull your credit or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But I can give you a very good picture of, this is where you're at. Maybe we need to do this before we're able to move forward. Or, hey, you know what? I have a great program we can look at right here today, and you can move forward with this.
Right.
And with rates where that, you're going to find, wow, I can't believe that I could actually get into this loan, and I might be paying less than I'm paying for rent right now.
Right.
And
even though we've seen this market correction of 16%, we touch on all the time over the correction of 16% around Ada County, and we're watching the recovery in Canyon County and everything else. People really should know. I mean, I couldn't stress this more, Curt. I know you'll agree with me. People come in and they say, hey, you know what? I have 20% down on a $250,000 house or a $200,000 house. Here's my $40,000. My loan's going to be $160,000. I bet you they can't come within $200 to $300 of what their payment's going to be. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, and it's just amazing because people, so these buyers are wandering around. They're going, God, I really wish I could buy, but I want this, and they would be really surprised. That's why I keep telling people, reach out to Academy Mortgage, call Curt, get him on the phone, email him. We'll give his contact information in a minute, and really find out what your payment's going to be, what you can, and especially the FHA, that 3.5% down. I believe that's correct, right?
Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
It's such a powerful tool for somebody, and really getting one of your young kids or your kid just graduated from college and get them in there and qualify for that loan. And God, what a jump start in life, Dave.
Absolutely. Curt Moody is a loan officer at Academy Mortgage. By the way, I want to mention they are an equal housing lender, and his contact information is 489-1355, 489-1355. And if you want to reach out to him, it's academymortgage.com, and I always say /Curt Moody, and that's MOODY /. And Curt, you also want to mention, some people say, well, is this guy legit? Well, give them your ID number so they know you are legit.
That's right. We do have a lot. All loan officers are licensed now. My NMLS ID is 897008. State license number MLO 13766, and then our corporate state license number is MBL 671. And as Dave said, of course, the equal housing lender.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, I don't even know mine.
Well, you better know it because somebody's going to ask you, hey, Lofthus, you got your license? All right, we'll take a time out. Back with more. I want to ask Curt a little bit about himself as well as some different programs that are out there that we may not know about. It's the Real Estate Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty, Boise. Back after this.